Welcome to episode 4, Beers Up Sports Talk. Sibo in the house, Debo in the house. We're here to talk a little bit about Wrestlemania tonight, coming up this weekend, a 2-night event. Debo's going to take the reins on this one, a little bit like Roman. We've also got a little special treat for you. As a Bills fan, you're going to get my top 5 Bills of all time. And with Debo, you're going to get his top 5 Packers of all time. But before we get started, Debo, what are you drinking on tonight, man?
I stayed with Vanish Valley because that's where I went this weekend. I have Pomona this time. It's a India Pale Ale.
I feel like that's a big deal with them. That's like one of their big beers.
It is one of their big beers. It's of the ones that I've tried. It's probably my favorite, if not second to In Search of Seven. But
okay, I've never had any of them. So
you didn't have one
next time you go to the brewery, hook somebody up.
You didn't have one at Christmas this year?
I did not.
Oh, okay.
And I'm back with Newport Craft Brewing. I got the Storm Pacific IPA. I am a huge fan of the New England IPAs, but this is a Pacific one. It's a beer of the month beer, and I can't be mad at it. It works just right. But first, we're going to talk about WrestleMania, and I can be the first to admit that I am not a wrestling fan. I was a wrestling fan a long time ago when it just brought me pure entertainment to watch people get body slammed. But since it's turned into a soap opera, I'm not a huge fan. Maybe it's always been a soap opera. You know what? Whatever. I'm going to turn it over to D because this is his jam. Hit me with it, brother.
Well, what I'll say is it's always been a soap opera, but now it's much more produced like one.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, let's be honest. So WrestleMania 36 is coming up this weekend. The tagline is too big for one night. So they're going.
Should the tagline be no fans allowed? No.
I mean, that's what we're talking about. April 4th and 5th, Saturday, Sunday, with host Rob Gronkowski. I don't know. You probably haven't seen it. I should make sure I share this with you, but he came out and did a Rob Gronkowski type dance when he was introduced to no fans. So couldn't really tell if anyone really liked it or not.
Interesting.
So you brought it up. No audience. They've been going with no audience for 2 or 3 weeks now, ever since this coronavirus quarantine has really started, the social distancing. And, it's not the same. So here's my question to you, even though you're not a wrestling fan. For wrestling fans, this is the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Should they even hold it? WrestleMania, that is. Not talking about because of the virus. Like, that's a whole nother topic conversation we can get to. But should they hold it with no fans? Is it?
This is just another thing that I think is a dumb idea. I have some thoughts on it because there's a part of this that I need to check with you, but I'm pretty sure I've got this right. But to answer your question, I think it's a bad idea to host this. There's no reason to host this now. I'm sure there are some internal reasons. I'm sure with storylines and plots and to keep all of the other trains moving, the money trains that are wrestling, they probably felt like they had to do it this weekend, but it just seems like something they don't need to do. It doesn't make any sense to do it in front of the people or do it not in front of the people that matter the most. The fans are the thing that make wrestling happen. The excitement of the crowd, the chants, the back and forth between the audience and the wrestlers, that's what it's all about. And when you have none of that, it's going to be super awkward. Now, I haven't watched wrestling in a long time. I know you've been keeping up a little bit since COVID-19 started, and they've been doing this in kind of like in just like a space where there are no fans, but it can't be that entertaining. It can't be that exciting. And I think that's what wrestling's all about. It's exciting. It's entertaining. It's a story. It's a plot line, and you can get the crowd involved. And if the crowd's not going to be there, I don't know why you would host it. And it just doesn't make any sense.
No, I mean, for someone who doesn't watch wrestling, you hit everything right on the head. You need the audience there. It's the big, especially a WrestleMania audience. It's the biggest. Yeah. It's the most hyped. It's fierce that, they don't let anything go. Whether if they don't like you, you're going to hear. So there are rumors that WrestleMania 36 was taped prior to this weekend.
Yep.
And so I went on Google to see how many matches there were.
Yep.
And I saw spoilers all over the place, which means it probably was.
Yep.
Or
yeah, I saw that as well.
Most of it was, which, kind of is disappointing because, A, why are you spoiling it for someone else? Like, it's something we're already not getting the interactions with the fans and the crazy hype. And now we got the spoilers out there. It's kind of sad. The other big news that comes out of it is Roman Reigns pulled himself out of WrestleMania. It wasn't that WWE was like, nah, let's save it. He's like, I've battled leukemia 2 times.
Yep.
I've won. I don't need to take the chance anymore of going out there and wrestling.
Right.
So they haven't announced who's replacing him against Goldberg in their match.
Yep.
But that will be probably Friday night. When SmackDown goes live, they'll probably fill that in, and I couldn't even tell you who they would do it with.
So let me ask you a question, though, about the spoilers.
Yeah. I didn't read any of them.
Well, no, and it's not even about – so I will say this. Spoilers happen in wrestling because everybody already knows the winner.
Fair?
Yes.
So,
like, part of me, when I went online today and I was checking this out, part of me thought, oh, spoilers, yeah, that's probably because it was taped, because we talked a little bit about this earlier this week. And in my mind, the first thing I thought about was, well, maybe not. I mean, maybe it's not taped. I mean, personally, I think it's taped, but maybe it's not taped because just because you see spoilers could mean that it's been taped, but it also could mean that somebody, within WWE just decided to leak it just because they're an asshole or because they think it'll drive ratings. If it's taped or if it's not, I just don't think, because there are no fans, I don't know that it makes a difference.
Yeah. And I will say that, like, Raw and SmackDown are not taped, and you don't see spoilers about those. So why not? They do ruin some things recently by giving ahead of time that someone's coming back from injury or things like that, which is really sad, because that's another big thing about wrestling that's important, is the surprise comebacks and things like that. So I agree with you. It could be someone just saying, hey, let's try and spike the ratings and then do a swerve at the end. There's a lot of times where you go into the match the day of and they're changing it.
Right.
And just because they can.
Right. Question for you.
Yes.
This is not on cable, right?
It will not be on cable. You would have to have the WWE network, or you could pay the ridiculous amount of money for pay-per-view, which, if they even do that anymore, to be honest.
Right. So, and that's what I thought the answer was. Here's my question to you. Going back to your original statement about should they be doing this during this time or not? Given that they're doing it, don't you think they should have tried to make a last-minute deal with a cable network to see if they could get it on, I don't know, ESPN, maybe even one of the main networks, to have it broadcast to anyone and everyone? I mean, we haven't had sports for 2 weeks now, and this would be the first live sporting event that would be on TV in 2 weeks, and they'd have the entire world to itself. And I just feel like it's a great opportunity for them to blow ratings up. They would get a ton of new followers probably. I mean, I just think about myself. Like, I'm not paying pay-per-view. I'm not going to sign up for WWE. I did see you can sign up and get a month free. So, there's like a chance you could do that. But, like, if it was on ESPN or ESPN2, or goddamn it, if it was on ESPN 8, the Ocho, I'd tune in for Saturday or Sunday night. I'd at least watch the big matches. I'd at least see what was going on. I'd be entertained for a little while. And again, it's not the same thing as paying for the monthly subscription, but at least you'd be getting new viewers. And I mean, I don't know how much WWE needs new viewers, but at least for that moment, they'd be the only game in town. And I assume they'd make a ton of money for themselves, for the network, and for everybody involved.
Yeah, I mean, they already kind of have that deal with ESPN right now. I mean, they, at one point, SportsCenter, I can't tell you the last time I watched SportsCenter. I'm not going to lie.
Right.
But I know some of the big matches like WrestleMania, they actually show highlights of that on SportsCenter.
Right.
And then they actually, before I think it's starting at 5:00, they're showing one of the WrestleManias this weekend. And then on ESPN, the regular. I mean,
it just seems like one of those things that obviously, like, their production team must have been sitting around 2 weeks ago and thinking, do we go forward with this? Are we going to cancel? Are we going to push it to the summer when we can, make a huge deal out of it, which to me makes the most sense. You have this huge buildup. You do this whole thing where, it was supposed to be now it's then. You get 2 more months of matches in between. And again, I think it's probably because of storyline, probably because of contracts, probably because of the wrestlers that are already supposed to be involved. But, like, to me, it just doesn't make sense. Like, if you're going to do it in this time, it's mind-blowing to me that they didn't go to the networks. Even ESPN, who's showing a WrestleMania that, right before it starts, hey, ESPN, want to carry this? Let's work a contract out. Everybody wins. ESPN puts that on the TV. People are going to tune in. And they're probably going to tune in for hours on end.
Yep.
I mean, to me, it's the same thing going back to the NFL draft. Like, the NFL draft is going to be the only thing in town when it comes on TV. people are gonna watch it. They're gonna sit around and watch the third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh round because like, what else are they gonna watch? Reruns of Diners, Drive-ins, and Dives like I do. Like, what the hell?
Hey, I mean,
That's
what's
for
wrong?
another. That's for another episode. But like, that's
Yeah,
all
I
I
know.
watch right now. It's great.
Yeah. So I mean, let's just the last thing I want to get into is I think I'm just going to tell you the 3 matches I'm looking forward to the most.
Yeah, hit me with them.
So the first one is Rhea Ripley versus Charlotte Flair. It's a women's match. It's for the NXT championship. And the reason is they've never, I think they had maybe one match, but it got broken up like 2 minutes into it.
Yep.
With a little schmoz finish. And, you know, Rhea Ripley, she's the future of WWE, and Charlotte Flair is the present. So it's just one of those, we need something big. Let's make it go out. I think it's going to be a good one.
And of course, Charlotte being Ric Flair's daughter, right?
Being Ric Flair's daughter, yeah. We got ladder match, which is a tag team ladder match for the championship. Miz and John Morrison versus the Usos versus the New Day. So we got a triple threat here. And, you know, all I can think of is going back to the Dudleys, Edge Christian, and the Hardy Boys. And that's what I'm kind of hoping we see. A lot of bodies.
It's going to be so weird when they're doing all the things that they do, which are completely intended for the crowd to get a reaction, to get people riled up, and like it's gonna like, are there gonna be echoes? I mean, that's the other thing. Like, I'm just thinking like if it's at a performance center and they're in this like big hall or whatever it is, and there's echoes and
performance center, I'd put it about the size of Mass Mutual Center.
Yeah, that place being empty, I just feel like, I mean, that's why I like going back to like, is it recorded? Probably, because they probably have to like dub out all the freaking echoes.
Yeah, it's like when they hit
body slammed.
When they hit the mat and it's going,
right.
Yeah, no, I agree. And the last one is last man standing match. It's Edge versus Randy Orton. Edge is coming back after, like a 5-year retirement, something like that. He went out, back surgery, and you know he wasn't ever going to do it again. And the doctors cleared him, and came back to the Rumble, got a huge ovation, and they were tag team partners back in the late 2000s, early mid 2000s, and they're gonna have, it's a blood feud. I think they're gonna end it this way. I don't know. I have no prediction. I think it's just gonna. I think of all the matches, I think that one will be the one that can really live without a crowd, because they'll tell a good story.
Well, so let me ask you a question, because I was looking at the matches today. It feels like there's a lot of old dudes in this.
Yeah.
Like Goldberg, isn't that guy like 47 years old?
He's very old, yes.
Like, and he's in one of the main matches, right? Like, he's
the champion.
Yeah, I mean, why? Like, give me your 10-second synopsis, or maybe longer, on like why the old guys are still owning wrestling when there's all these new guys in there.
It's WrestleMania is it's not just about the hardcore wrestling fans. It's about getting mainstream. People know Goldberg.
Right.
People know the Undertaker.
Right.
People know Brock. Right. Which one? People know Brock Lesnar.
Right. Again, another dude that's fighting, right?
Yeah. And you're going to come in and you see those names and you're like, wow, they're still in it. Let me watch this and see what happens. So that's why they always
watch it.
Huh?
Except I can't.
That's why they put, once in a while, they have a Stone Cold or The Rock, because it's going to bring those nostalgic people that aren't watching it because, I miss those good old days, or they're
totally.
Yeah.
No,
so that's what I think. So I'm going to say I'm pretty impressed with for not watching it. You kept up. You had
Listen,
a lot
man,
of good
I'm a fan of sports, and while wrestling isn't really a sport,
entertainment.
Yeah. I mean, again, like when I used to watch wrestling, it was all about like Hulk Hogan, Ultimate Warrior, Undertaker, all those dudes. And, you know, of course, the storylines are what matter. The matches are fun. They're entertaining. Again, like I think back before it blew up the way it is now, I mean, the things that they showed on TV were only big matches. They were, for the most part, the big names. And like, you got to see the wrestlers that you cared about a lot. I don't watch wrestling enough now, or at all, but like, I mean, how often are you seeing like your favorite wrestlers when there's 3 different shows a week?
So they actually split the rosters for Raw. So there's a Raw roster, there's the NXT roster, and then there's the SmackDown roster. So you see them, I mean, they're the main ones that everyone wants to see are in the storylines pretty much every week.
But like they're not wrestling every week, are they? They're not like there's not like championship matches every week, right? And not that that's how it used to be back in the day, but I feel like if they're wrestling some like chump, like it's you know who's gonna win. Like the storyline is not gonna play out where like some nobody beats up on somebody who's a champion.
Do you not remember back in the late 80s, early 90s when you had the enhancement talent that it'd be Hulk Hogan versus Jim Bob from Tuscaloosa, and
I
they'd
don't
wrestle.
really remember it.
Oh
No.
yeah, so I mean,
I really just remember Hulk Hogan versus Ultimate Warrior versus Andre the Giant versus
yeah, those are all
the
WrestleMania
Yellow Man. Right, which is probably all I would have watched, or I've just watched on YouTube a million times.
Fair enough. Well, now that you've lived through the wrestling talk, I see your Thurman Thomas jersey here. I love it. So I'm so curious. I personally think he's going to make it onto your top 5 list, but I'm curious as to where. So before we get into your top 5 list,
Yep.
tell me why the Buffalo Bills?
Because it's an easy bandwagon in the early 90s. Here are my favorite teams when I started watching football. The 49ers and the Buffalo Bills. That's it. And guess who was going to all the Super Bowls in the late 80s, early 90s? The 49ers and Buffalo Bills. Didn't watch a lot of football, right? Didn't watch a lot of football. Patriots were bad. After 86, they got real bad. And again, in the early 90s, late 80s, early 90s, you're not getting all this football on the screen, right? And so you're getting maybe one game a week, and the Bills were good at that time. The Niners were good. I was watching the Super Bowl. That's probably all I was watching. And so I started liking the Bills because they were fun to watch. They scored a lot of points. They were entertaining. They were winning. And they kept showing up in the Super Bowl, even though they kept losing. I don't know that I was like a hardcore fan. I was just a fan. And I think just because nowadays football has kind of taken over sports fandom, it's definitely like the number one thing here in America. You know, I've been a Bills fan my whole life, but it's not like I'm like a live or die Bills fan. That's the team I root for. The Patriots stunk. Nobody I knew rooted for the Patriots. My dad didn't root for the Patriots. None of my friends rooted for the Patriots. I mean, I would say I probably rooted for the Patriots the most. I used to rock that Andre Tippett Halloween costume year after year after year.
I remember that thing.
And I'm pretty sure it might have been like a mom-made Andre Tippett jersey. Just
kept getting
honest.
Kept getting into it?
I don't know. But, I mean, I don't know. So I'm a Bills fan. It really dates back to those Super Bowls. That team, they were super entertaining. I've stayed the course. It hasn't been pretty. They're finally getting good again. They're going to win the AFC East this year. I've already called it.
I mean, I'll say I remember sitting at your father's condo watching. Oh man, it was them
get their ass kicked.
It was the Bills Niners, I believe. No,
they didn't. Bills never played the Niners.
It was the one they got trounced. That's why I just assumed it was the Niners.
Which one?
No.
They got trounced by the Cowboys twice. It was Giants, Redskins, Cowboys.
It must have been the Cowboys.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I just remember us sitting there on the couch and just being like, what the heck just happened?
Well, I think by the time the fourth one rolled around, it wasn't a surprise. I mean, the first one, tough to watch. They should have won. Second one, should have won. By then, you're starting to get a little bit worried that it's not going your way. Still, only team to make it to 4 straight Super Bowls, if I'm not mistaken. Of course, they didn't win any. But you know what? I'll ride or die with those early 90s Bills any day.
Hey, I'll tell you, if Norwood makes that field goal, maybe you win 4 in a row.
I will say, now that you brought up Norwood, like doing this exercise of my top 5 Bills and doing a little bit of research on the guys that are on the list, a little bit of PTSD, little bit of like, oh my God, like really good team that for the pretty much the last 25 years been pretty awful.
Finkel is Norwood. Norwood is Finkel.
It's awful. Yeah. Like looking at I'll get into it, but not great.
All right. So another thing I want to do, I want to guess what your top 5 is going to be before you lay them out.
Are you going to do it in order?
I am going to try.
Okay.
All right. So I'm going to say that someone I left off, even though I was questioning it, Cornelius Bennett.
Okay.
And that's actually the main one that I really had problems with.
Okay.
I think McGahee wasn't there long enough.
Yep.
And I don't see you doing Bledsoe.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you're not doing JP Lossman.
I kind of dug, number one pick.
Yeah, right. All right. So I'm going to go with number 5, Eric Moulds.
Okay.
I'm going to go number 4, Andre Reed. Number 3, I think this might be too early, but I'm going the Terminator.
Okay.
Number 2, Bruce Smith.
Okay.
And I'm going Jim Kelly as number 1.
Okay.
And a little bit of my quick reasoning with Jim Kelly, it's not even just what he did for the Bills during that time and what he did on the field. I think it's what he's doing now that will probably put him up in the top, fighting cancer.
Okay.
That's where I'm going.
Okay. I respect that. All right.
You tell me.
Not bad. Not bad. All right. Number 5, kind of like my Celtics list, I'm going split ski. But this is a little different. One real, one kind of for the entertainment purpose. Number 5, Marshawn Lynch / Andre Reed. The real answer is Andre Reed. But we cannot forget about Marshawn Lynch because he's an amazing human being. Because of the entertainment he's provided both on the field and off the field for the NFL. First round draft pick by the Bills, was amazing for the Buffalo. Didn't even know where Buffalo was when he was drafted. Didn't know what the hell he was getting himself into. He worked super hard there for a couple of years. They were pretty bad. And you know what? I can't be mad at him. But he's super entertaining. But number 5 is Andre Reed. And I'm just going to kind of spoil the list right now. All of them are from the early 90s. I mean, there's not a lot of – well, not true. False. Let me back up. 4 out of the 5 are from the early 90s. Because that's the heyday of this franchise. That's them winning, AFC championship after AFC championship. They were really good. They were talented. They had stars. And Andre Reed was an incredible wide receiver. Little bit of stats for you. He pretty much is in top 20 for every receiving record book stat that there is out there. He's incredible. He was super durable, super healthy. Stayed with the team till I think 99, like Thurman and Bruce. And just, he was a guy that was their number 1. You need a number 1 wide receiver, he was always there. And so easy number 5 for me. Number 4, the only guy that's not from the early 90s, Doug motherfucking Flutie.
You went there.
I went there. So
okay.
It's funny. When I was thinking about this list, I was trying to figure out, okay, like almost everybody's going to come from the early 90s. But like, who got me excited about the Bills? Like, I think about Buffalo Bills present day. I get excited about the team. I get excited about Josh Allen. I get excited now about Stephon Diggs. I get excited about the defense, Tremaine Edwards and guys like that. Doug Flutie was the last guy to get me excited about this team. And the crazy thing about it is that he was incredibly good for them, and they dropped him like a bad habit. They sign him as a free agent. Guy hasn't played in the NFL for like 10 years. They sign him with Rob Johnson. Yeah. Johnson gets hurt. He leads the team to an 8-3 record, playoffs, loses in the playoffs. Comes back the next year, goes 10-5. Playoffs come around. They start Rob Johnson, and they lose the Music City Miracle. Oh. So for those keeping track at home, in 2 seasons, he's 18-8 as a starter, and they don't even let him start the playoff game that second year. They go with Rob Johnson. And again, they should have won the Music City Miracle. They literally lost on a freaking miracle. But Doug Flutie earned that respect.
A miracle or a forward pass?
Either way. I'm going to let you call it what it is.
All right.
Before you not a forward pass. Not a forward pass, but whatever. But here's what I want to say about it. Since Doug Flutie stopped being quarterback for the Bills, in the 17, let me get this right, from 2000 to 2016, so 17 years or whatever in between playoff droughts, 2 winning records.
That's not going to get it done, my friend.
In that time, 8 coaches. So they had 4 times as many coaches as they had trips to the playoff or winning records. I'm sorry, winning records. Not even playoffs because they didn't make the playoffs those 2 years that they went 9-7, 9-7 by the way.
Yeah, that's not great.
And again, 2 out of the last 3 years been to the playoffs. So shout out to Sean McDermott. Winning makes you get excited about a team, right?
Of course.
I mean, Doug Flutie is the kind of guy that comes out of nowhere, starts winning games. He's comeback player of the year. He's obviously like an unsung hero. He's doing everything that you want your quarterback to do. And then they drop him like a bad habit. And again, I think, you can say the Music City Miracle kind of was this like stamp on like the end of them being a good team that was just a really short period of time. But I think, them kind of casting aside Doug Flutie in that playoff game was kind of like maybe a little bit of a jinx that they hadn't been able to get over to until they got Sean McDermott. And now they got themselves going in the right direction. All right, number 3.
Yes.
Bruce Smith.
Okay.
I mean, in terms of that defense in the 90s, yeah, they had Bennett, they had Odoms, they had a bunch of other guys, but, I mean, Bruce Smith's the man. Number 1 overall pick in the draft. Absolute monster. Just terrorizing defenses. Maybe not on the level of like an LT, but he's the same kind of guy. Just unstoppable in his prime, just running through folks. And he's a guy that made, in terms of defense, for a team that was so offensive, so loaded offensively, he was the guy that you tuned in for on defense.
Yep.
Number 2, this guy right here, Thurman Thomas. 4 years in a row, leading the league in yards from scrimmage. Only person to ever do that. Incredible. Now, you might say maybe they checked down a lot, but that offense was humming, right? Like, this was a guy that was probably getting 15 carries and probably 6-7 receptions a game. I don't know. Like, he's just a guy you like to watch. Like, every time that guy touches the ball. And for that offense that was predicated, I mean, it was basically like a run pass option. That's what they did. They were in the shotgun. They were fake handing it off or chucking it down the field or handing it off to Thurman. When you have that good of a back in the backfield, like, you have the ability to hold that ball there, that extra second, get those safeties to hold, and then you're chucking it downfield, or you're just handing it off to him and he's running down the field.
Right.
Just an incredible guy to have. And the fact that he played for the Dolphins, I'd like to just forget about that and just remember the time that he played for the Bills.
Well, if you didn't tell me, I would have forgotten about it. So
no, I haven't forgot about that. I'll never forget about that.
It's like seeing Patrick Ewing in a Sonics jersey.
Yes, or like Shaq in a Celtics jersey. Like, yeah, just really those weird things. All right, and number 1, the one and only Jim Kelly.
I did not see that coming.
I mean, you saw it coming in terms of.
I knew Jim Kelly.
There's nobody else.
Jersey switch.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think he just epitomizes those early 90s Buffalo Bills teams. I mean, he was cocky. He was a showman. He could absolutely chuck it.
Yep.
No fear. I mean, that K-gun offense was the Kelly gun. I mean, he's the guy that makes that team go. And it's crazy to think that when they drafted him, he wanted no part of them. He didn't even sign. He signed for the USFL. He left and went and played for Houston or whoever it was, the Gamblers or Ramblers or whatever the hell. That league folded and he came back to Buffalo. Now, granted, we gave him a ton of money for the time, for at that time. But without that guy, I don't know that this all works. I think he's the guy that brings all of these talents together. Andre Reed, Thurman Thomas, James Lofton, all of these guys that come into play over the course of those Super Bowl runs, like they're not there without Jim Kelly. That guy's a true Hall of Famer. He's incredible. And again, you kind of mentioned it earlier, like the things that he's gone through with cancer, the things that he's done with cancer, raising money, his social media presence, going through all of his chemo. It's incredible. I think he's the guy that just epitomizes kind of like that Bills Mafia mentality, that strong kind of weather any storm. He's incredible. And also, like, all of those things combined, he was also an incredible quarterback who played with the Bills and retired with the Bills, and I freaking love him.
I like it.
That's it. I mean, that's it. I mean, you can't go any other way than Jim Kelly for number one.
I mean, that was the one I was sure about.
I do have to say, it's crazy. I was trying to figure out like guys that in the last 15 years that I could get behind, and like Marshawn Lynch was like one of the only few, just because mainly because he's awesome. You mentioned Willis McGahee earlier. Like, I didn't even think about that guy. Like, that guy's a total afterthought in my mind.
No, right. And then the only other person I would have thought of was Stevie Johnson.
Right. And the crazy thing about Stevie is like he was barely here.
What was he, like 3 years maybe?
I think he was a little bit longer than that, but like, yeah, I mean, Stevie wasn't. I mean, he just wasn't. He was good, but like he just wasn't around that long. And again, the Bills weren't that good. So I mean, it's hard to get behind players who are that good when the team is that bad.
Yeah.
All right, time has come, D.
Woo.
It's Packers time now.
Go Pack, go.
I mean, I told you earlier that I think I nailed your 5. Now,
Okay.
I don't know that I'm confident as a motherfucker, but like I'm probably wrong. But here's my 5 in no particular order, and then I'm gonna order them. So I got Favre,
Yeah.
Rodgers,
Yeah.
Sharp,
Yeah.
White,
Yeah.
Matthews.
Okay.
Now I don't need. Let me take myself a moment to compose. I'm gonna go number 1 Favre, number 2 Sharp, 3 Rodgers, 4 White, 5 Matthews. Give me your list.
So, like me, you went 4 for 5. And who'd you say your number 3 was?
3 is Rodgers.
Okay. All right. So you're ready for mine.
I'm here for it, brother.
So number 5 is Leroy Butler.
Get the fuck out of here. Leroy Butler? Who is that guy? Who even is Leroy Butler?
He invented the Lambeau Leap. That's all you need to know. The best celebration in NFL. I don't care what anyone says. You can @ me. You can hashtag me. Come at me on Twitter.
Okay.
Devo2PT. Come at me. Lambeau Leap, best celebration in the NFL. All these other copycats trying to do it ain't got nothing on Green Bay.
All right.
That's all I have. I mean, dude's a 5-time Pro Bowler. He has all the stats to back it up. So I'm not worried about any of that. You can look it up yourself. I'm not going to get into it, but it's just the Lambeau Leap.
Okay.
Number 4, Sterling Sharp. So
yeah. I had him a little higher on your list, but yeah, I'm
just 2. That's surprising. All right. So Sterling Sharp. I mean, the guy was a monster, target monster. He was for that time because back then it wasn't like it is now where you're getting 170, 180 targets.
Yeah.
You're getting 120 and you're catching most of them.
Right.
He only played 7 seasons. He had neck injury. I remember when he just collapsed, like he went to go make a break on the when the ball was hiked and just fell.
Yeah.
7 seasons, 595 receptions, and that's like 2.5 seasons with Majowski throwing him the ball.
Not great.
Right.
Not
8,000 yards receiving and 65 touchdowns in 7 seasons.
Yeah.
I mean, this guy probably would have been Hall of Famer if he stays healthy.
Is he not in the Hall of Fame?
I don't think he is. If he is, I apologize for not knowing that, but I don't remember him ever getting the call.
Keep talking. I need to find this out. That's like crazy.
Out. So, I tussled back and forth between him and Jordy, and I just couldn't do it. I was thinking of Jordy, and then I also was thinking of Robert Brooks, Antonio Freeman. I'm like, what receiver should I be picking here?
In the Hall of Fame. That's crazy.
Greg Jennings. Devontae Adams is too new. I mean, he's only had three of his 6 seasons were good.
Yeah.
He had some really lame seasons that really, when Jordy got hurt, he could have stepped in then, but didn't. So that's why he didn't make the list. So we fell on Sterling Sharp. Number 3, Reggie White.
Mm-hmm.
Came to Green Bay as a free agent.
Easy money.
He was the preacher, right? He led Packers with 68.5 sacks when he retired. He's only behind KGB and Clay. And he had the game-winning sack in Super Bowl 31 against the New England Patriots.
That'll make him move.
That'll make you move up, right? And I just remember him running around the stadium on the outside, slapping high five with everyone. I remember being at Mike Lynch's house watching that Super Bowl. So I think my top 2. Number 2, I know
I think what I'm most disappointed is that Clay Matthews didn't make your top 5. I feel like you were obsessed with that guy for several years.
Yeah, I was absolutely, and he was number 6. I mean, there's a lot of Packers that I could have put on here.
That's right. You do have your honorable mention.
Yeah, I won't get into all those. We can, but and again, this we're not talking about Nitschke, and we're not talking about Herb Adderley and all the players that would probably be on the best
Mm-hmm.
of the Packers.
Right.
We're talking about what I watched. So number 2, we got Aaron Rodgers. You know, he filled right in for Brett Favre. You know, people say he went like 5-11 or 4-12 his first year, but he had great stats. He was actually chucking the ball that year.
Right.
It's not like he was. And then the next year he made the playoffs. If he had a defense in that game, they lost 50 something to 40 something on overtime sack fumble against Arizona in that first round playoffs. Then they just caught fire. He won a Super Bowl. He's pinpoint accurate, and you know he's kind of a troll. So you know I like you. You're a troll, and you know he kind of reminds me of you. Okay. And number 1, we're gonna go with Brett Favre. I mean, he's what made me really like the Packers.
Right.
I mean, that's what put me over the top. Gunslinger, pure emotion. His attitude was he just had the passion for the game. I remember the Raiders game where right after his father died and playing through that and just seeing how he did it for the love of the game and for his father. And also, I just remember him holding the helmet up after the Super Bowl, sprinting down the field. And it's just something that every kid wants to do, and I wanted to do it.
Yeah.
You know, my high school quarterback career was not great, but you know, I still wanted to do it.
Yeah. By the way, just as a side note, it's super cute that you reference players on your Fab Five running around the field after winning a Super Bowl. I wonder what that's like. Anyway.
Well, I mean, since you did bring it up, Clay was number 6.
Okay.
Jordy 7, and Nick Collins was number 8.
You can keep going. I know you got a longer list.
I do have a longer list, but I think we're good there.
Well, I appreciate that. And what I will say is I think it is incredible that in the time that you've been a Packers fan, you've been privileged to have 2 Hall of Fame quarterbacks.
Absolutely.
It's unreal that you were able to transition from Favre to Rodgers. All right.
I'm not going to argue that. I mean, if you don't have a quarterback, you can't win.
Right. Tell me something I don't know, man. I'm a Bills fan.
Unless you're the Ravens and you have Trent Dilfer.
You know, it is what it is. All right. That about does it for our favorite 5 players of our favorite teams. That also does it for episode 4. But before we go, I got a couple of parting shot questions for you.
Ooh.
A lot of what we've done through the first 3 episodes is talk NFL, free agency.
Yes.
I'm going to hit you quick. 3 names. Tell me where you think they end up in free agency before we get out of here.
Okay.
All right. Take a deep breath. Get ready.
I'm glad I have my little plaque over here with all the teams on here, so I can look at that and cheat.
Cam Newton, where's he end up?
Cam Newton, you didn't see it? He signed with the Bills.
No, you didn't.
Someone tweeted it yesterday, and I had to think about it when it was April 1st. I was like, wait, what?
Wait, so somebody did tweet it?
Yes. And I was like, oh, man.
You smashing bottles over my head. My own head.
Right. I was like, why would they do that to Josh Allen?
Right. They wouldn't.
Cam Newton.
I saw those pictures of him working out with Tyrod Taylor in San Diego.
LA, right? Or were they in San Diego?
I don't know. That's a good point.
So first off, is that social distancing if they're working out together?
No, not at all.
Okay, perfect. So I'm glad we're all on point with that. I am going to say the Chargers. I really think that's where he's going to go.
Yeah.
I saw that, but I didn't remember it until you brought it up. I think he goes to the Chargers. I think it's
it makes a lot of sense. The only problem is the only problem with that is that I feel like everything I read is that they might be drafting a quarterback, and if they do that, they definitely don't want 2 veterans on the team. Next up, Jameis Winston.
Jameis Winston. Whew, that one's even harder. I think
because he's gonna Cam, at least in my mind, has the potential to be a starter. Jameis is gonna have to be a backup, right?
He is going to be a backup, and he's going to be a backup for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Ooh, okay. Third one, Jadeveon Clowney. Where does he end up?
That is hard. No, that's hard because I can't think of what line, what defense needs him. I mean, obviously there are plenty.
Right.
Where would I like to see him end up? might be a better answer or a better response.
It's one way to get around it.
I'd like to see, yeah, I'd like to see him with Atlanta,
Okay.
but I could see him signing, honestly, since he's now asking for less money. I could see him with ending up with Las Vegas Raiders, or
Yeah.
even like the Jets.
Yeah. I mean, I will say I saw a little bit of a rumor about him signing with the Ravens after their deal with, was it Brockers fell through, whoever it was fell
Yes.
through. I know they've signed the veteran from the Broncos who's escaping me right now, but that's a guy that I feel like maybe they get him on a 1-year deal, throw him a bunch of money at him, or maybe he takes a little bit less money to go to a team that he knows is going to probably be in the playoffs again, is going to be really good. I don't know, but that's another team that could work out.
Yeah. Well, can I throw him back at you, Cam?
I think LA. I think the Chargers makes the most sense. Again, I say that because it easily fits into the fact that he could challenge to be a starter. Though, again, I also think that they might draft a quarterback, and that would make a lot of sense as to why they would let Tyrod have the job. I don't want to say the crazy thing. The tough thing about the Chargers is that they're a really good team on paper. Like the idea that they're going to have Tyrod and then, hope that they can develop a rookie quarterback really quick doesn't make a lot of sense. Now, as we talked about in the last episode, Cam hasn't been that good. And so like maybe teams are just wary of the fact that since he went 15-1, he's been pretty bad as a quarterback, and it's just not worth investing money in him, especially the money that he's probably asking for, to deal with a guy that they're probably going to have to figure out what to do with him after a couple of years where he hasn't been healthy.
Yeah. Before we jet out, I got one other thing, because
Yeah.
we were talking about social distancing with Cam and Tyrod. So I went to work today, or I had to go pick up some things from work. Got in the car, and it's like a normal day. Driving by a store, like Big Y, CVS, and it's just like the normal amount of people. Like it's crazy. What have you guys been going to the store? Are you guys
No, we have gone to no stores.
No.
We ordered everything online. I went to the bank 2 weeks ago.
Yep.
We've done CVS drive-through twice. No, we've ordered food, but had it dropped off at our door. Like we have completely shut ourselves off from the world, in the sense that like we're not going into stores.
Yeah.
I just think it's super challenging for people to not go back to doing what they're used to doing, going into stores, going shopping. I mean, even my 70-plus-year-old grandmother or my stepmother is still going grocery shopping. I'm like, what the hell's wrong with you?
Right.
Just stay inside.
I mean, since this has happened, this is like probably day 18 or so from when I found out that UMass was going remote.
Mm-hmm.
And the weekend after that I went to the liquor store.
Yep.
And then last weekend we went to the brewery, but it was curbside pickup. And I went to UMass today, just to literally, there was no one in the building. It was dark. Went into my office, grabbed the few things I needed to make sure I had all my work for the rest of the summer probably. Right. And then took off. And it's just, I just see people, and it's people, that aren't related. They're in their cars. They're just driving around, and they probably don't live together, and they're still just hanging out. Like it's no big deal. South Hadley took the rims off the hoops. They
really?
Yep. Took rims off the backboards. They put tape up around the parks so people aren't going onto the playgrounds, because there was a full 5-on-5 at one of the schools. Like, you can't do that. That's not social distancing.
I mean, here's the deal. People don't know how to act in this, and because there's not a clear message coming from the people that we look to in these times.
Yep.
And there's mixed messaging, and everybody has the ability to kind of give their own feedback. And again, in this social media world where you can literally find the information that you want to hear rather than the information you should be hearing, it's easy to kind of take it into account that, listen, I feel like I can go out and do whatever I want. The reality is, stay home, stay safe. Let's get this thing squashed as soon as possible and get back to living our normal lives. I want to be able to go out to restaurants. I want to be able to go walk around Target. As awful as that sounds, me saying those words right now makes me kind of want to vomit. But like, I want to be able to interact with the world again, but I'm also willing to sit down and be quiet for the next 2-3 weeks just in hopes that we can squash this thing and hopefully get in a place where we can get people healthy. Because the reality is, folks are dying, folks are getting sick. There is no answer right now. There isn't enough doctors and medical equipment to handle what's happening out there right now. And if we all just kind of keep it together for the next, month or so, there's a good chance that maybe we get through this and there's a lot more healthy people than sick people.
I 100% agree. And I think that's worth beers up.
Yeah, man. All right, episode 4, we out of here, man. Until next time, be good.
Peace.